Talladega. It's NASCAR's longest and fastest oval, providing what is perhaps the most intense test of speed and concentration. This year-long series will host a special race once a month, and tonight it kicks it all off here. We see who gets to the year going with a win as we get ready to watch the Sim Racers for Mental Health Make Chester Proud 250. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Christian Challoner. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Christian, we've seen it time and time again. Drivers cannot take Dega lightly.
Yeah, it's pretty much one of the most difficult tracks that you'll go to. Everybody's always packed together. It's 2.66 miles, so the biggest track that they go to. 33 degrees of banking as well. I suspect we'll maybe see one or two big ones tonight, but hopefully a good race for 52 laps here.
Absolutely. And as we mentioned, this is a special event, so all these monthly races that we're going to won't really have a championship. It's all for trying to win it. Let's take a look at those details here. This is, of course, the Make Chester Proud 250, and of course that is in reference to Chester Bennington, the lead singer for Linkin Park that sadly passed away in 2017. It's 52 laps long, and they have limited the fuel, which will be a big talking point, certainly, because we were kind of discussing what will that mean for the pit strategy, of course, and it might be a little bit up in the air, but it is fixed setup, so drivers don't have to fiddle with that. Even though these are the Cup cars, they can hop in. And it's all about how you can manage the traffic and how to race this track smoothly. They do have a fast repair as well if they run into any sort of damage. Considering we've got a relatively full field, I'd say a few might find themselves having to use that free repair. You can see out there, they're currently warming up here. Christian, let's go to that fuel that we were talking about, though, because, well, that 75%, you seem to think that it's a little bit on the cusp.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's very close to being able to do it on one stop, but it will come down to kind of where you are in the line and as to if anybody is saving. I think if you save, you can do it on one, but if you just go all out, then it's definitely going to be a two, in my opinion. I might be wrong. I'm not entirely certain. I do think that if we see a yellow, say within the first 10 laps, though, it will definitely be a one-stop race after that.
And the other thing that we should note, special rule that they have here for this race, is that if a caution comes out within the first 3 laps, the next restart will be single file, just so that they get a little bit of a cleaner start, since it seemed the first one didn't go so well. But we'll see if we get those 3 laps in. If not, then it'll be a regular double file start, of course. Got 3 minutes left here in the qualifying. Temperatures have been pretty hot out on track as well, Christian, and I've seen a few drivers look like they're struggling a little bit to maybe hold the car steady in a line. Is this hot enough that it makes it slippery in that way?
Generally, you kind of only see that towards the end of a run, so I think we'll maybe see that after at least 20 laps or so. But it's definitely something you got to keep an eye on, and one place that's normally quite tricky with these cars is somewhere you might not expect. It's actually in the middle of the tri-oval, so to speak. That bottom line can be really, really loose. It's quite flat down there, so definitely say about 20 laps into a run, I think we'll see people struggling to not lose the car through there.
We ride on board with Woody Mahan here, currently 7th in the warm-up. You can't read too much into those practice times. He's actually coming out of the pits, it looks like, and getting up to speed now onto the back stretch. We've got, let's see, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37 people I'm seeing who have signed in, and everyone does appear to be in the session right now, so that's certainly going to be a nice packed grid once we get going under green. First, though, we're going to have to go through the qualifying. With it being a fixed setup, then, Christian, what do you do in the qualifying to really make a difference?
Well, with Talladega, it's a little bit easier than, say, Daytona. With Daytona, you have to do a bit more of an arc into the corners just because they're a little bit tighter. With Talladega, it's a relatively simple deal of keeping it on the bottom as much as you can, as close to the yellow line, but not quite on the apron, because if you do clip it, you do lose just a little bit of speed. We also see drivers tending to go underneath the yellow line, coming towards the line, just to shorten that distance just a little bit. And really, it's about getting a good pit exit as well.
You can see some of the drivers there practicing the bump drafting. Trying to get used to that. Right now, for those who are curious, you can see that is Patrick Hosier who is leading things, and he's the one on screen with the quickest time here in the warm-up. Giving a little bit of a bump to Austin Greer. Greer hailing from Ohio, getting some help from the New Yorker. Probably more important to be out there doing this than it is to be running solo by yourself, I have to imagine. It is a decently good strength of field, not amazing, but enough that at least drivers should be able to hold their own with just under 2,000, the average that these drivers put together. As well, that didn't go so well for Greer, and he finds himself hit into the outside wall. Boy, that flag certainly is going, although the wind speed is only at about 10 miles per hour right now. Actually, you know what? Looks like it's gusting a fair bit as I'm watching it right now here, Christian. And it's gone from 8 to, well, now 13, and it's changed direction at least once. Is that a concern for the drivers?
Yeah, that's a massive consideration for qualifying, and unfortunately, there isn't really a lot you can do about it. You kind of just get lucky with it, or you don't, so to speak. But yeah, it is generally the thing that shakes up the grid the most with a fixed setup qualifying. So it'll be interesting to see how that either helps or hurts some drivers.
All right, qualifying started. Everybody trying to work their way out for that warm-up lap. It looks like Austin Greer going to be one of the first ones getting going, along with Presley Sora. Right now, the number 98 of Sora getting speed up as we watch the 60 riding low below that yellow line before he's allowed to get up onto the banking, drifting out to the backstretch. Again, this is going to be 12 races, one race each month. They're mostly going to be swapping between here at Talladega and at Daytona. They'll have one or two special events we'll get into later, talk about some of the different cars and different tracks that they're going to be using. But it'll mostly be the B cars, the Cup cars here like we have this evening, and of course the trucks as well, since this is a NASCAR-centric series. But big credit to this series for bringing to light, of course, mental health here in the States, and especially among sim racers. A lot of times it's easy to try and sort of make yourself solitary and just deal with things on your own. But great group of guys here that have come together and tried to bring that to light and be a support to one another and to others out there in the sim racing world.
Just having a look through the field, there's a little bit of divergence between drivers as to whether they're setting their fast lap on either the first or second lap, so to speak. And what I mean by that is what we often see, say like Presley's doing right now, drivers will run the top on their first timed lap to kind of wind the car up completely, and then they'll go to the bottom for their second. But I've seen a couple of drivers who aren't actually doing that. They're winding the car up on the top of the track on their out lap, and then they're running their actual qualifying time and their qualifying lap and line on actually the first lap. So that's interesting to see.
Yeah, Austin Greer is the quickest so far on that first time around. Robert Black next to him on the front row. I was watching Austin Knight, too. He manages to get it up to third. This is Tyler O'Neill. Where does that put Tyler? That actually puts him into 13th for the moment, but we've got a lot of drivers getting those first laps in still, so things are shifting around quite a bit on that tower to the left.
Yeah, so you can see the guys who are, say, 7 or 8 tenths off. Those are the drivers who are going for their second lap. So I'll expect to see those jump up the board.
I see Austin Greer getting ready to complete his second one. He's got 0.15 of a second right now. And as he crosses, second one wasn't quicker. So the 45 stays put, but is not able to improve. Neither is Robert Black. Sora does. Presley manages to go up to third.
That's interesting, though, that the second lap wasn't actually quicker. I'm assuming that those guys who set the time lap on the first time ran the bottom and the same line both laps. So it's interesting that the second really wasn't faster. That's quite unusual.
I've seen a few drivers who are coming out late that won't get a second lap. Derek Self is one of those. He's currently without one. Ooh, and we had Woody Mahan on the pole briefly before Tyler Dixon up there with a 52.510. Mitchell Adams now going into second as well. So there's a few drivers who are finding some time on this second lap. This is Hosier coming across. This will be his first timed one. That's 17th for him. 50 seconds left. So if they're going to put a lap in, they're going to have to be on that second one now. Derek Sell first timed one was a 52.9, but as we saw, did not cross that line recently enough. So he's going to run out of it just before he gets out of the tri-oval. That'll put him in 26th that one time around that he did manage to snag. I see Westergreen still in pit lane, so he won't set one. Neither will Brandon Johnson. Diaz just crossing now on screen. That's a 53 flat. That's going to put him in 29th. 11 seconds. Patrick just sneaks in that second one, but he doesn't improve.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to have about 8 non-qualifiers.
Pretty typical here at Talladega and on the super speedways, but that'll set the grid because qualifying's now over. Tyler Dixon puts it on the pole. Mitchell Adams will be sitting next to him with Woody Mahan starting P3. Tony Edmondson will be in 4th. In the inside of row 3, it'll be Jared Mogard. Nice jump up for him. Kevin Skomsky in P6 with Michael Krobach coming in and putting it in 7th. Wesley Fuller will be starting next to him in 8th position. Kane Attard in 9th and Austin Greer in 10th.
And just outside the top 10, we got Robert Black lining up alongside Chris Titus in 12th. Tyler O'Neill in 13th with Presley Sora in 14th. And then first driver in the 52.8 was Jamie Dobbs in 15th with Austin Knight in 16th. And then Josh Walker and Patrick Hosier will bring it up 17th and 18th. William Kruzaka in 19th and Alan Wilson 3 in 20th.
Curtis Kenyon starts 21st. Then you've got Steven Sims in the 22nd position. Marshall Stanley starts P23. Lawrence Shaughnessy starts in 24th with Gavin Cohn in 25th, and then it's Brian Ramstack in 26th. We followed Derek Self across the line, wound up 27th, and David Strackbine will be in 28th. Nelson Diaz starts 29th, and the last driver to get a time in was Joshua Bolt in 30th.
And moving into the non-qualifiers for the event, we had Emmanuel Lopez in 31st, alongside James D. Miller in 32nd. Jordan McKevy in 33rd with Brandon Johnson in 34th. Jeffrey Fisher, who did actually set a pretty respectable time in practice, comes in 35th with Brent Jones in 36th. Matthew Rodriguez is 37th with David Westergreen at the back in 38th.
We're waiting for Tyler O'Neill to grid up. He's the last of them. And he was put in 13th, which is fairly decent, but I guess if he doesn't like sitting in the middle of the grid, he could... Oh, looks like he's out there now. So everybody will actually line up. We're not going to have any pit lane starters here for this first special race of the season for the Sim Racers for Mental Health. So that pace car now takes off on its way for the pace lap, where we are going to be led to the green by Tyler Dixon in that number 79.
It does look like we're going to have a couple of deviations from the grid that we just called, because it seems like 4 drivers have picked up EOL penalties.
That is going to be, looks like Jeffrey Fisher, James Miller, Bill Kruska, and Brent Jones are the 4 that will have to go to the back of the line at the start. I'm just going to duck out of the way here on the banking and let everybody get through. Temperature's actually gone down just slightly since the qualifying. It's now 100 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface. The winds are still kind of gusting around, changing directions and changing speed within about 5 miles per hour.
Yeah, it looks like we got a bit of a cloud. Now, with it being a super speedway race, I don't think that's going to have too much of an impact, but any reduction in temperature is always good, especially for these oval cars, and they tend to struggle a little bit late in the run in terms of tire, so nobody complains when the shade comes out.
That's for sure. And I love that you can see this now on iRacing. Never tires me. You can get that track partially covered by the clouds with the way they've brought that weather model in. Keeps drivers on their toes for sure. But they're already into turns 3 and 4. Now, granted, remember, the finish line is after the tri-oval here at Talladega. So even though that pace car will peel in, we might wait a little bit before Tyler Dixon decides to go. That is up to him to decide. He also is able to decide which line he wants to start in when we have restarts in the race itself. So as the Mustang pace car does head down into pit lane now, that number 79 holds back the field, keeping them nice and checked up as they come into the slight banking here in the tri-oval. Waiting on it, waiting on it. A little bit of hanging back there for Adams, trying to get a better view of the 79 so he can time it with his rival. Green flag is out. Now they have to go. First round of the year here for the special events for the Sim Racers for Mental Health. It's the Make Chester Proud 250. As they get going, already some drivers impatient as they start bump drafting our leader down on the low side.
Yeah, quite fragmented getaway, and I saw Austin Knight look like he was looking to the very top of the track, and when the green did come out, he's been shuffled out. He ended up in the very top lane, and now he's going to the back. We see a couple of other drivers dropping below the apron. I think they're deciding that they'd rather hang out in the back for the start of this race.
Now that's Wesley Fuller. There you see below the yellow line. So he is indeed going to go all the way to the back. Well, not quite to the back. Looks like he's about midway through where we finally get a break. Up at the front, though, it is Dixon leading. Woody Mahan is in second. That might change, though, because Jared Mogard ducks up to the high side, gets some help from Mitchell Adams along the way.
Yeah, and there's definitely two strategies to super speedway racing. There's the strategy of you just go for it and you try and get to the lead and try and stay out of the wreck that way, which is the way I prefer. And then there's the other strategy of kind of just waiting until the wreck happens, because it's pretty inevitable.
Mogard now ducks low as he did take the lead away, but it's going to swap around again. There goes Mitchell Adams. He's now got the push from the 43 of Tony Edmondson there in that red machine following him. They've also got a third one in line, Kevin Skomsky, up there as he started in 6th, so already made good inroads to get up to the front.
Yeah, we see the 2-car pair drop down to the bottom there. Unfortunately, the third car not able to get down, now dropping back as the bottom lane pulls away with about 4 cars at the head of the line there.
Bottom line certainly looks a little bit stronger right now. A bit of a rough shove there on the 25 of Chris Titus. Josh Walker got into the back of him. Both of them managed to come away with it, but you can't do that too much.
Yeah, and that's kind of really a function of the tri-oval area. It's just really difficult to stay linked up with people through there, and if there is a little bit of wandering, then there's a tendency to lift, and that fragments the line, and the line that you're in then goes backwards, and you have to be really confident with the guys that you're working with, especially if you're in that top lane.
Already getting a little bit of 3 wide back here. The number 32 of Gavin Cohn caught out to dry. Below him, that is Chris Titus. Oh, and just ahead of them, we might be going 3 wide there. Is that the number 60? Whoa, and he does turn someone already. Looks like that's Robert Black. And it's a big one already.
Yeah, that looked like there was a little bit of a misunderstanding. I think at one point they ended up 4 wide, and I don't think anybody actually knew they were 4 wide, and just one car kind of drifted a little bit out of its lane, and unfortunately you see the result.
Yeah, that's starts with the 60. That's Robert Black, who I mentioned. He gets a little wobbly. He's gonna clip Kane Attard. Attard gets into, looks like Austin Greer. And then, well, from there, almost everybody behind them got a little bit of a piece of it. I think Derek Self had a very good escape, though, if we want an interesting onboard. He's the number 81. He may have had a little bit of contact. I'm trying to see if he did or not. Yeah, there you see that yellow and black machine just somehow make it through it all.
Now, the thing is that nobody is actually out because everybody has at least one faster pass, so we are going to keep a full field here.
81, trying to catch. Oh, he did have some contact there. It was very late, and that's a shame. Because look, wow.
Yeah, I think he's pretty fortunate to get through that with as little damage as he does have.
Absolutely. And it honestly, at the very end, was only because that 9 somehow wound up pointed the right direction when he honestly didn't expect it to be. So we come back live, you could see he is going to come into the pits. Question is he going to take his spare car after that little nick, or is he just going to try and get it repaired? Looks like a bunch of the front runners do stay out.
See a couple of the guys with the nose piece missing. They're definitely going to be taking their fast repair.
It looks like the top 13 did not come in and pit. The first one that's going to be out, well, Josh Bolt has actually not hit his pit stall. Not sure if that was intentional or if he just completely missed it. That means, let's see, Lopez did the same thing, the number 11 car, and so did Fisher in the 06. The first driver who actually took service was Patrick Hosier in 77.
I'm actually surprised that we didn't see everybody come down there, just to even top off on fuel, and not so much for if they had damage, but I think from this point, it's quite doable on just a single stop if it does go green.
I noticed we had that Williams stock car in here, and I'm not seeing any black stripes. Is that a legitimate one, Christian? You're the one that races over on the pro side. I'm just trying to figure out who that was.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because I was thinking the same thing when I saw that car.
I'm trying to figure out who that was because I
believe
saw it
was
on
the
screen.
11.
I think you were right. Yeah, it is. The Lopez. There you go. Yeah, as soon as I saw that, I was like, well, I know Williams was involved. I'm not sure. I wasn't sure if they still were on the oval side.
Yep, yeah, they have a 2-driver pairing for the eNASCAR season coming up. It's Matt Booster and Ryan Loser, so I'm not entirely sure where Emmanuel Lopez fits in with that, but it is a cool scheme.
Could have just grabbed it from online when he found it somewhere, so never know. Maybe we'll get some input from the peanut gallery on that one. So now your new order up at the top. Mahan is still your leader. Adams is in second. Krobach third. Edmondson, Tony Edmondson, where did he start this race? Oh, he started in fourth. He's exactly where he started, actually. I just didn't notice him before. So he's running fourth, and Jared Mogard got slotted back to fifth, even though he led for a brief while.
We do have some big movers, though. We got Nelson Diaz is in 13th, up from 29th.
Yeah, Diaz was one of those who did not pit. In fact, I think it was the last car to not pit, if I recall correctly. Yes, indeed. And those 3 that did miss their stall have now come down, it looks like. In fact, a number have come back in for getting more repairs, so a few of those maybe did not take the free repair yet, just trying to hold it in their pocket until later, since we do have a fair number of laps to go.
Yeah, and I do think that's a smart choice. I think if you've got, say, under 30 seconds of damage, you probably don't want to be taking your fast repair because, as we've seen, the wreck can be quite substantial, and I think there's a high probability of a second one, so I wouldn't want to take my fast repair on lap 6 unless I absolutely had to.
So it looks like as we hopefully we'll get the 1 to go next time by. Actually, are we? Yes, we will get it next time by, it looks like, because the lights are still on the pace car. And that we're getting some information on what we think is the number 11, but I'm double checking to see that we are actually looking at the right one. Yeah, because we're being told that this is possibly Jose Maria Lopez in Emmanuel Lopez's car, if I'm understanding that correctly. Which, if so, well, that is fantastic. That's a real-world driver out there. If that's the case, we'll try and get confirmation to see if that is actually him out there. Sometimes they do have their other accounts that aren't necessarily matching the name that they're known by. As they come into the tri-oval here. Michael Krobach up there in third. That is a name we have called for a lot of years here on GSRC. I'm glad to see him back out and running on the channel once more in the number 72. Of course, still rocking those HPP pedals. Been involved with them for many years at this point.
Now, whilst we're still under yellow, there's just something interesting I'd like to say about the spoiler. Obviously, we're all aware that the spoiler is quite large, to say the least, but they've got that little strip where it's a perspex screen. Now, that's there to kind of aid you in terms of looking through, so you can see through the car ahead of you, and it does work to an extent. But when you're right behind someone, right tucked up on their bumper, it stops working. It's really only effective about a car length or so back. Once you're within a car length, you can't see anything further. So you're really dependent upon the person in front of you, especially if you're in the top line. If you're in the bottom line, you can sort of see to their left, and that's not so bad. But if you're in the top line, you're really dependent on the car in front of you, and you just have to trust that the line he's running and where he's running and what he's going to do is actually going to work and is what you want to do.
There's a great example right there, because we're right on board with Krobach right now, and you can see through it, like you said. But yeah, it looks like it's a little bit tough to see once they get much closer than where they are right now here in the double file line.
Yeah, it was much easier with the old style, really slim spoiler.
Okay. Let's see how this restart will go. They are going to allow them to restart double file. We've only lost one car. David Westergreen appears to have left the session, unfortunately. So we're down to 37 drivers.
And only one off the lead lap that's still running, Austin Greer.
All right. Pace car down into pit lane. This time it's going to be Woody Mahan who has control. But Mitchell Adams on the outside for the second start. He's waiting for it, looking for the green flag. Now he starts to get going before that green comes out. That's actually a fairly decent jump for the number 12. But before they can get a gap in there, looks like Mitchell is going to put himself into that spot. So he's happy with staying in third, as much of the top fields go single file very early.
Yeah, the top 10 is relatively close together, but after that, it's really strung out.
Well, and already the top group is going double file once more, because on the high side, they've got Mitchell Adams getting something from Jared Mogard, and Mogard, with almost no room, slams it down to the bottom line in front of the 12.
This is actually a little bit of an opportunity to create some mini packs, so to speak, and for maybe this top 6 or so to actually break away from the field if they'll kind of organize themselves into a solo line.
No such luck right now. In fact, getting wobbly there from Mogard in the double aught. He gets it back together. The high line certainly has more cars right now, so the 12 of Mahan is going to just start to sneak ahead as they come around 1 and 2. Krobach behind him, second in line, then the 43 of Edmondson.
4 up on the top and 2 on the bottom, and top 2 cars are now clear, and they're going to sweep down to the bottom, I would think.
They're not working all that much better together behind them, but they are catching. The 55 of Stomsky, excuse me, the 99 of Stomsky, rather, is gaining. And they've now caught Dixon. You could see it was not hard for them to try and catch back up. In fact, I'd say they're bringing in a lot of cars now.
Yeah, and this is where this could get quite dangerous, because everybody further back in the line is going to be arriving at quite a high closing speed, and obviously there's nowhere really to go. They might see an opportunity if some guys take it to the third lane. I think if you're, say, 3 to 4 car lengths back and you're working with a partner, I think that you can go to the third lane and actually clear this whole group.
Right now, we've got, looks like about 17 cars all stacked together back up front, despite the separation we saw on that restart. This is looking a little bit more orderly, too, as they now come down to get ready to start lap 11.
And there we go. We got somebody trying what I was just speaking about. We got Josh Walker going to the third lane. If anybody goes with him, he might be able to continue his run.
Nobody's going right now. It's just the two up on that high side, all on his lonesome. And he's dropping. He is dropping like a rock. So one failed attempt, but that doesn't mean that others will fall by the wayside. Looks like we're going to get another run from Mayhem as the 72 hooks up with him. Oh, now we got a run on the high side. We got two cars, the 84 and the 32.
I saw Gavin Cohn in that 32. He left the 2 out to dry, and now the 2's leaving him out to dry. Going to keep him over the top.
And that's the 89 and the wall. He's going to get someone else. Down they go. Caution is out. Chris Titus involved in that. Austin Knight as well. A couple more cars catching it later on. That was Diaz, who was being pushed by Cohn. The 84 who catches the outside wall, exiting 4.
Yeah, once he caught it that one time, it kind of bounced him off a little bit, and then he was in a swapper all the way until he was collected and went completely around.
It was Austin Greer, who we already know got some damage. He's going to be out of this race probably. And Robert Black, ooh, another one that's probably lost his spare car already. They were at the very tail end. They're the ones that you saw slam into them. Greer, oh, he had it slowing up. It was just someone in behind him got into him. I think that was Black, actually. Okay, so our second caution of the day. We're on lap 12. Looks like Chris Titus has left the session. He's gone. Nelson Diaz is well. 2 more down. See if any drivers come in for a stop here and decide to get that bit of fuel that we were talking about earlier, maybe to just top off.
I would definitely think we'll see at least some of the field come down to top off.
Krobach is. So he's giving up track position for this one. Ooh, looks like Kruzka. Cohn is coming in. Cohn probably going to get some damage repaired. Kane Attard. Tyler O'Neill is coming in. Now we got a bunch of the drivers that were towards the back now coming down pit lane. So leave us with just about 8 cars or so that have not pitted it at all yet. Worth noting that Hosier, who has actually taken service in the number 77, is up to 5th right now after all that.
And I feel like he's probably actually in the best spot here because everybody around him hasn't pitted yet. And I'm reasonably well, they've had 2 yellows now, so they're going to be a little bit better in terms of fuel mileage. But I still feel like it's probably close for those guys.
Krobach looks like he's going to be the first out, besides Cohn, who just took a free repair and then returned to the track, only a 4-second stop. That's going to take us to a quick break, though, here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We've got more yet to go here in the Make Chester Proud 250, first round of the Sim Racers for Mental Health Special Event Series here in January. Don't go away. Welcome back to Talladega Super Speedway. We're going to get restarted here on lap 16 of the Make Chester Proud 250. Right now, our leader is going to be Mitchell Adams this time, ahead of Woody Mahan. Mitchell's been on the front row on all the restarts, but never on the inside. So with him having control, we'll see if things go any differently. Mahan, Edmondson, Mogard, Dixon, Skomsky, and Sims are all yet to take their pit stops, but we've already had 2 cautions, so we're pretty certain it is a 1 pit stop race here at this point on the fuel. If they have another one, definitely will be from then on. And so those who waited maybe will have a little bit of an advantage. We'll see.
Well, they have retained their track position, so if we do see another yellow, say, within 10 laps, then yeah, I definitely think that it's going to have paid off for those guys who've stayed out.
All right, we're going to get the pace car in. He gets below that yellow line. Adams will have Mogard behind him, the 77 of Patrick Hosier, third in line on that low line. It's not been super advantageous on the low side, as the high side has been doing fairly well. He's waiting for it, and that number 23, oh, he's waiting a long time, waiting all the way until the green flag goes, does not want to get separated. Everybody starts to take off and build up speed, getting up to 150 miles an hour here. And this is very different from what we saw in the last restart, where everybody got spread out last time. It is all staying nicely clumped together.
Yeah, last restart they went a little bit before the green comes out naturally, and this time waited all the way until iRacing through the green. And that's kept everybody bunched up a lot better, and I think we're going to see the top lines forming up a bit quicker this run than it did the last.
Still a lot of jostling back there. A few people peeking at the third line, including the number 43 of Edmondson, and rethinks it. Doesn't have anybody to go with him, so we stay in double file. This first pack goes pretty much all the way back, looks like, so nobody fell off.
We see the top line's just a little bit fragmented. The 58 car's out there a little bit on his own, but I feel like this is going to close up pretty quickly. We see the 2 of Josh Walker again. He's been pretty aggressive. I'm wondering if he's going to try that third lane again.
So far, the number 2's gotten back up to the top 6 here. And he's staying in line, so not really ducking out yet. If he does leave there, it looks like he'll have the number 58 of Steve Sims behind him. He's the one to watch to see if he tries to stay with it. On board with our leader, Woody Mahan, looking back, once again finding himself up to the front. The 2, instead of making the third line, heads on down to the bottom.
Yeah, and it was open. I'm so surprised it was, but the entire bottom lane was open there, so he's just decided to cut straight down there and take the lead of that line.
There they go down now. Edmondson, ooh, barely with space, and the 12 doesn't have it. Mahan hung out to dry. Edmondson now your leader.
Yeah, 12 a little bit hung out there, but he's got a good push coming. Oh, the 2.
Did he shake the 43?
It looked like there was a little bit of contact there, and the 43, good save though.
Well, no caution out of that, thankfully. But driver's getting a little bit antsy. We're not even to halfway through at this point. 43 is going to get another shove. Woody Mahan now trying to work together with Walker, who's certainly been trying to do some more unorthodox strategies. And this time they're working. He's going to lead this lap.
So Michael Krobach in that 72 car looked like he thought about putting him 3 wide in the middle of the tri-oval there, and then thought better of it just at the last moment.
Not really seeing anybody look like they fancy that third line up on the high side at the moment. It's all just kind of playing your cards and putting your chess pieces in place, as we see the number 72 drift back a little bit from the 5 of Stanley.
See the 0-2 of Brian Ramstack. He was taking a little bit of a look to the top side, but he's been formed up pretty well with Marshall Stanley, so it didn't look like the 5 wanted to go with him, but we see the 72s going up there now.
Oh, yeah, Krobach finally thinks he can get something going here. Who's going to join him? I see Derek Self. Oh, no, Self is going to get back down to the second line. 7-2 guys. Oh, and he almost comes in front of Self.
Just a little bit close there on cutting down, but fortunately the bottom was open and allowed Self to get down there.
Back up to the front. Nothing much has changed. Just still Walker and Edmondson at the front of the two trains that are vying for the lead. So the other thing I wonder too, in some of these drivers ducking out, how much of this is them maybe needing a little bit of air on the front spoiler though, just to like cool the car down?
That's very much the reason for that. We're seeing that a lot actually on the inside lane. Guys are pushing a car forwards and then they're sitting maybe 1 to 2 car lengths back just to cool it off a little bit. And that's definitely going to come into play now that we've had a decently long green flag run at this point.
Well, we had 2 cars up on the third line, but they're all falling backwards. It's the 5 of Stanley and the 10 of Knight. They head back well down. Well, actually, you know what? Knight is a lap down, so he probably wanted to fall backwards. Stanley, though, was on the lead lap. This sends him all the way down to 17th. He was at least in about 8th or so when we last looked.
Yeah, that's really going to hurt, but I do think that, especially with everybody getting hot now, and that's going to check up both these natural lines that we have with the bottom and the top. I do think we're going to see, guys, as we see the 72 go to the third lane. He's making it work.
Ooh. What was the 0-2 there? That was Ramstack. Not sure if he was trying to throw a block or what he was doing.
I think it was a late decision to go to that lane, and it ended up looking like a block, but I think he actually wanted the 72 to push him, but he was just too late in making the decision to go up, and the 72 had to really back out of that.
Well, this changed up the top group a little bit. They weren't quite as tidy as before, actually. Walker is now back to the front with Edmondson, but he fell as far down as the number 77 of Hosier. So we head back to the lead now. 72 every single time at this point. This is starting to look like a pattern.
And I think he's getting well, I was just going to say, I think he's getting a little bit of a benefit from that because he's getting a lot of cool air, and he's going to be a really good car to have pushing you at this point because he's going to be really cooled off.
And he's not losing too much each time. He has a lot of momentum whenever he does it. So he only loses about 1 position each time until he can get back down to the bottom. Once again, we're seeing things switch up at the top. Mogard now being shoved in the reverse by the 2 of Walker. We're pretty soon going to be at halfway. It's getting to be a little bit of a longer run than we first saw. Those first 2 cautions coming pretty early. Restarted on lap 16.
See, the 02's been shuffled out by the 18. Just went a little bit high, and the 18 was able to duck under him and shoot through the middle there.
We haven't checked to see what kind of separation we're getting yet, and it looks like Jamie Dobbs back in 25th is really the first one to fall back before we get into a pretty actually sizable pack of cars, but I think some of them might be a lap down. No, it looks like a bunch of them are on the lead lap, interestingly.
Yeah, it looks like we've got everybody in the top 24s within 2 seconds, and then Jamie Dobbs is unfortunately falling off of this lead group a little bit, and then we've got a pack of about 8 cars behind that who, for some reason, have just dropped well off of this lead group.
Mogard went down to the bottom line. We just saw it on screen in front of Edmondson. So that hands the lead of the second line back to Walker. We got someone in the middle there for a moment. And I'm seeing the 32. That's Gavin Cohn. Gavin Cohn was right in the middle, and now he's right in the top. Number 32 climbing forward, actually. Oh, and the 77 falling backwards for some reason. Hosier, oh, and he gets up, and that's into Krobach. More cars getting turned around. This is going to be another big one.
Yeah, that was very strange. I don't know if something had happened to the 77, but it looked like he wasn't able to maintain his line all the way down the straightaway, and then when we got to the turn, he just drifted all the way out to the wall.
Going back to watch on my own, here we've got the replay of the big accident. So we'll go back a little farther on Hosier. It almost looks like he intentionally tries to fall back because he ducks up. I wonder if he had a hardware problem or something and was just trying to get out of the way.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It looked like he was definitely trying to get himself to a completely empty lane. But unfortunately, that top lane was there when he was making that decision. I'm actually surprised he didn't make the choice to go all the way to the apron instead.
Poor Krobach was there and tried to get out of the way, and then eventually the wall was there and there's nowhere to go. Let's see if we had any miraculous escapes here. 24 did a pretty good job, I'd say. That's Brandon Johnson. It's Robert Black's view. Yet another incident for him, unfortunately, means that he's going to have yet more damage, probably out of this race at this point.
This Gavin Cohn is out of the race. Must have used his spare car earlier on.
Yeah, I'd say so. Looking to see a lot of cars. Pretty much everybody coming in at this point as we're back live. Walker leading Mogard. O'Neill stays out, though. I think the only one?
Well, like everybody came down that was in the lead pack.
Tyler O'Neill and Matthew Rodriguez are the two that stayed out. Steve Sims runs through the pits as he decides not to take a stop. Everybody else getting work done. The first off the lane going to be Mogard ahead of Stanley. Ooh, Marshall Stanley with a very quick stop. 10 seconds. Is that a two-tire call?
Yeah, I believe that's a two-tire stop for Marshall Stanley, so we'll have to see how that affects him. I think, given the amount of green flag running that we've had, if he took rights, his lefts are probably still pretty fresh at this point, so I think he's going to be okay with that.
Well, this is going to take us to another quick break here after the pit stops. Tyler O'Neill, your new leader here for the Make Chester Proud 250 at Talladega Super Speedway. We've got more racing yet to go. Welcome back to Talladega Super Speedway. We're going to get restarted on lap 30 out of 52 here for the Make Chester Proud 250. It is only 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon virtual standard time, but we've already seen a drop in temperature since the start of the race. It's down to 97 degrees now on the track surface, where it started at about 106 during the qualifying. Drivers getting more and more favorable conditions. The racing has been getting a little bit cleaner as well, as we started out with a couple quick cautions and we had a nice, decently long run. But now it's going to be Tyler O'Neill, who took a pit stop. Let's see, how many laps ago was he last? Looks like 17 laps ago is when he came in. So I expect he's going to have to come in again, but he does have track position for now.
Yeah, I think everybody who pitted on that last, well, in this yellow is going to be okay on fuel, but I think he's definitely in trouble. He's absolutely got to pit at least one more time.
Everybody else behind him have pitted about 3 laps ago here during this caution. Pace car is in. The number 18 looking to take control. Will be flanked by Mogard. Mogard's been up at the front a lot more than what we've seen of the number 18. So will his lack of experience leading the train hurt him? Green flag is out. We'll find out now. Much later start than before this time. In fact, they were all the way out of the tri-oval. As they get going, we got a wreck in the back. No caution yet. They're all off the racing line. Looks like Rodriguez involved, Brian Ramstack. Checking to see who else was in there. I think it was the 55. No, it was 99 of Skomsky.
Yeah, that just looked like one of those scenarios where a couple of guys at the back were keen to hang out and maybe wait a little bit longer, but others who were perhaps involved in that last incident wanted to go forwards, and just a little bit of a meeting in the middle right there.
We're still on the lead pack, and O'Neill is doing fine, I would say. Getting a nice little push there from Stanley in second in line. Let's not count out Josh Walker. He's certainly had the cameras on him a lot this race so far, for good reason.
Been out there making the moves.
Top line is really moving. Speaking of moves, Mogard coming right back. Edmondson in the 43, helping him along. That's Mitchell Adams, who's currently third in line on the top row.
That outside lane's going to get a little bit of help as well, because Derek Self's just about to join it.
Now that'll make about a 5-car pack on the top line, but they've got a lot more on the bottom. Goes way, way back there. Fans of Michael Krobach, good news is he did get back out with his spare car, so he's able to continue, and he's with the lead pack here.
Even more cars joining the top line.
So it seems like we get some people who are getting more eager to try and get the longer lane going. Question is this going to stay green to the end, or are we going to get one more caution before all is said and done? Things really tidy as they come around 1 and 2. That highline, that momentum is looking really well off the corners. Mogard just shot like a rocket up to the front, but he's going to duck down in front of O'Neill almost immediately.
And the thing with the top line is that at the moment it's moving okay, although it's split up just a little bit as Mogard went down to the bottom, but the longer they stay packed up, the hotter those cars are going to get. So at the moment we're seeing everybody sort of even in either line, but once people start getting hot is when we'll see one line kind of become dominant over the other.
We're starting to see a little bit of a break on the bottom line. The 24 of Johnson trying to catch back up before he can. The 79 of Dixon ducks down low.
And the 18 of Tyler O'Neill is really pushing the 00.
He's got nowhere to back up, though, too. So if he needs to cool down the car, he's going to look a little bit below. Ooh, the 00 doesn't trust him. He's going to come back to the high side. That's going to make a third lane almost by necessity, as the 43 of Edmondson has to take avoiding action.
Yeah, the 18 was pushing the 00 all the way into 3 there, and you can't really do that with a car on your bumper, and we saw the 00 had to go up. He was really given no choice.
Edmondson muscles his way back down into that second line. forces the number 9 of Curtis Kenyon to back off so that he can have some space. Kenyon's going to give a little bit of a shove from self, so that should get them back into this thing pretty quickly. We're right on board with Edmondson.
Some of these cars are definitely going to start getting hot soon, though. The 5 has been tucked up behind the 18 for a long time here. Is not going to be able to do this for much longer without it starting to get really hot, and he'll have to back off then. And that's probably when we'll see the top line move forwards.
As they come across the tri-oval, things get a little shaky there. They get back in line pretty well by the time they get into 1. So far, bottom line still holding the edge with the number 18 of O'Neill, as once again momentum swings back in favor of Mogard. Trying to figure out if Mogard's top of his car has just straight checkerboard on top of it with no number.
It looks that way.
Amazes me the clever things some of the drivers have managed to do with some of their paints. So they're going to start lap 36 now. We only have 30 cars left of the 38 that started, and now we start to see some drivers dropping back. Oh, very fast. Oh, that's a blown engine.
The 23 was just pushing too long there and is blown up.
And that's all the way around that he has to go to get that spare car. He is absolutely going to go a lap down here.
And I thought that we were going to see people running into issues with being hot. Everybody was being very, very aggressive in terms of pushing, and you just can't do that forever. These things will get hot, and they'll get hot very, very quickly if you're aggressively pushing a car forwards.
And even though it has cooled down on the track surface, it's still 82 degrees Fahrenheit in the air, so it's been a relatively warm day out here. I think the number 2 Walker also had to finally give up the ghost on pushing as he fell out of line and finally got some cool breeze on the nose. 2 winds up in 7th place out of that.
And that's the thing, really, is that once everybody sees one car blow up, everybody's then really, really conscious that it's going to happen to them, and probably takes a quick look and realizes that they're all pretty marginal as well.
Still, those top 4 are running quite close to one another. It's O'Neill and Mogard up in the top of the trains. They've been going for a bit at this point. Green flag came out at lap 30. Of course, we still need to see O'Neill come in for that final pit stop. So if anything, he is hoping for some sort of caution. They're coming up on some lap traffic, it appears. I think that's Mitchell Adams. He just got his spare car. He's back out. But he is just a few hundred feet away from being lapped.
And he's got to be hoping for a yellow at this point as we see people start to maybe think about a third lane.
I think that was Edmondson getting some air. Whoa, and the 79 into the wall. That was Dixon, who just brushed it and managed to hold it together. Hopefully that wasn't too much damage on the car either.
It's definitely not going to help him, but he got away with it to the extent of he didn't actually wreck, and it doesn't look too bad just looking at it here.
So where does that put Mitchell Adams? Oh, and we got a caution. Trying to figure out who that was for. I see Steve Sims sideways on the track in the number 58. Oh, just a couple car incident. So Sims looks like he's going to get loose and collect the 77 in a big way. Strackbine in the 14 also going to get caught up in it.
And this was unfortunate for this group because they'd been hanging off the main pack, and I thought they were doing that in order to not be involved in a wreck, but it appears the wreck has happened in that group, so all for naught.
All right. Well, now that we're watching this one more time, we're keeping an eye, and I see a couple drivers already down pit lane. There's Hosier's view. Yeah, New Yorker just probably didn't know what hit him at first. Both of them bouncing around off the walls, unfortunately. Drivers who came in, Strackbine, of course, to get repairs. Looks like Sims stayed out, so Sims' contact must not have caused all that much damage. Trying to figure out where did we get the lucky dog for a driver that just blew his engine? J. Mitchell Adams. No, he did not. Or no, maybe he did actually.
I believe he will.
He's the first car lap down, yeah. Yeah, I believe the number 23 will get our lucky dog, so he might be able to get back into this.
A split decision at the front of the pack there. No surprises to see the 18 coming down, but a lot of other cars staying out.
Krobach comes in. Dixon is in. I see Kruzka also pitting. Looks like Kane Attard. Wesley Fuller pits. Steve Sims. Steve probably getting a little bit of damage repaired. And Matthew Rodriguez.
We saw the 72 there. It looked like he actually had his fast repair in reserve, because coming into the box he had significant right side damage, but it all kind of popped out as soon as he stopped in the box. So I think he's left his fast repair until now, which is the smart thing to do. About 12 laps to go.
Well, that call for O'Neill wasn't too shabby because of all the cars that did come in with him. O'Neill, with his track position, came back out in 14th. So only about 7 cars back from the leaders when they go double file. That's at least within reach.
Yeah, he's definitely been quite fortunate there that the yellow did come out, because obviously he's maintained not the position he was in on the lead lap, but he's still definitely within the fight. Whereas if he'd had to take that stop entirely under green, it's probable he was going to be borderline for losing a lap.
How many does that give us on the lead lap? See, looks like 27. Brian Ramstack going to be the last one. Especially now that Mitchell Adams is taking his wave around. All right, so at the top, what does that do to our order? Well, Marshall Stanley is going to be your leader. Woody Mahan will be P2. Jared Mogard still in it, along with Josh Walker, 2 major players up at the front for much of this race. Brandon Johnson still in P5 in the number 24.
And Marshall Stanley, that driver who took 2 tires versus everybody else around him, that's looking like a good call right now.
Really is. He's had no problem sticking with it. And Brandon Johnson, by the way, who I mentioned in 5th place, one of our drivers who did not set a lap time. So he's gone from 34th to 5th. Other drivers who did set times that are pretty high up there. Curtis Kenyon in 7th from 21st. Alan Wilson into 8th from 20th. Derek Self, 27th in qualifying. He's up to P9 right now. Further
He definitely had some big movers.
Yeah, that qualifying really isn't as essential here on the super speedways.
Yeah, the big thing is keeping yourself out of trouble, having good strategy, and just making smart decisions in terms of which lane to be in at the time, and just not necessarily always picking the one that's going forwards, but the one that isn't going backwards the fastest, which sounds kind of obvious, but it's one of those deals where you can very quickly move your way forwards, making a lot of right decisions, and then all of a sudden you'll move out of line one time and it'll be the wrong decision, and you'll go right to the back. So there's definitely a lot more to it, I think, than people initially appreciate.
So what you're telling me is the secret is to make the less bad choices.
It works for me.
And we're getting information from Robert Black here. It looks like he unfortunately had his radiator blow just as he came out of the pits. So that explains why we lost the number 60. Looks like maybe he tried to get back out after some repairs, and that just didn't work out for him. We've got Hosier and Strackbine, who've been in the pits taking a lot of repairs themselves. I suspect their day is over. That'll leave us with about 28 cars when we get restarted. Looks like we should get that lights off signal this time by the line.
Speaking of big movers, unfortunately, we've had some guys who've maybe not quite had the night that their qualifying initially suggested. Our pole sitter, Tyler Dixon, is actually back in 17th right now.
And remember, we saw him actually brush the wall in that last green flag run. And let's see, what was his pit stop like? It was a normal pit stop. So if he did have any repairs, it decided not to take them. If he has any damage, it'd be on the right side of the car. Not sure if we can get an angle on that. Here we go. Yeah, this should give us a good shot here once he comes by. Yeah, that's pretty clean. I think he got away with it.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure whether he's taken his fast repair there, but there definitely doesn't look like there's any damage on that right side, so
that's a good point. Yeah.
It wasn't a race-ending shunt for him.
I didn't even think about the fact he could have still had that in his pocket. Right now, though, they start to double up as they head back through turn 1, cruising along at the pace car speed of 65 miles per hour. Let's see, so we're going to get restarted on lap 44 with 9 to go. We've got time for one more caution. We have no green-white checkers in this series as well.
It's definitely an interesting point, and anybody who was in fuel trouble or might have been in fuel trouble due to a green-white checker is not going to be. So I think at this point we can say that everybody is definitely safe on fuel.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. So that takes that out of the picture. Now it comes down to who's got the strategy, who's made friends out there too. Because normally, and especially in series like when we cover the PRL, we talk about teammates, and especially in the majors, we talk about teammates, teams working together. We don't necessarily know who is on whose side out here today.
Yeah, I think we got a pretty strong pairing on the bottom at the moment with Marshall Stanley and Jared Mogard. I think that's going to be pretty tough to beat. But at the same time, we've seen Mogard make some pretty aggressive moves, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him try and force his way into that outside lane and then maybe get a run and cut down in front of that 5 if it's possible.
Let's not forget about Edmondson, who's a little bit farther back right now. He's had to cool his car off, and he's used to being up at the front for much of this race, so we'll probably try to pick his way forward with so few laps left. Right now, the pace car is heading on in. Stanley given control. It's been very late starts in the previous ones. Nobody really wants to split it apart like we saw in the first restart that we got. 5 just repeating that pattern. Green flag is out now, and everybody gets on the loud pedal.
Double O immediately to his bumper.
Yeah, well, and then the 2's going to help too. Start to back off now that they get into turns 1 and 2. But the number 2 just left the number 12 out immediately before they even got to the start-finish line. We got a wreck in the back. That is Derek Self and Tyler O'Neill, but no caution. Everybody off the racing line, and someone ducks back up on. Who was that?
There's some heavy contact between the 18 and the 81 there.
Gonna look at the replay, trying to figure out. Oh, that was Edmondson in the red machine that you saw took evasive maneuvers and eventually made it back into the line. Oh, wow. That replay really shows how far off the racing line Edmondson had to go to get around it. Great call by him.
It was unfortunate for Derek Self there. The one car out of the three to not be able to continue on.
I think, unfortunately, Edmondson was a bit of the cause there from what we saw. Looks like he clipped the back there of the 81. So come back live. It's still Mogard and Stanley leading the top of the lines. Walker is on the low line in second, and Mahan is on the high line in second.
Looks like Walker's trying to get to the point where he's clear of the top line, and then I feel like, unfortunately for Marshall Stanley, as soon as that happens, Walker's going to leave him out.
Well, there he goes. Is he going to get fully clear? It's not quite there. Even still, the double aught has been quick off the corners all night long. If he can carry that momentum again, and he is. Let's see if he jumps down. He's staying up high for now. Nothing quite yet. Still not leaving it out. Maybe he's trying to bring the 12 with him. Oh, we got another big wreck. This time it is going to be a caution. Edmondson caught up in it. Sora caught up in it. I think it was the 98 of Sora that initially was part of the start of that. Oh, no, he was an innocent victim. It was the 24 of Johnson being turned by the number 9 of Curtis Kenyon.
Yeah, everybody was getting pretty aggressive there, and we saw the 72 went to that third lane, and car flew up right in front of him. I don't know if he made it through it or not.
If you want a wild ride, the number 13 of Kane Attard not only had to take evasive action, he had to saw at the wheel to catch the thing. There you see another angle of Johnson. He's actually racing from Australia. I didn't notice that before. All right, watch this. It's all going to happen to his right, but then he's going to get on the flat here. Woo! Great catch from the number 13 to keep it going. Although he might have had some damage because he just said he needs to pit.
Yeah, that was quite a strange one with him. It looked like he didn't actually get any contact on the front of the car, but you can see the middle of the spoiler is visibly kinked downwards, as well as the rear of the car. I don't think I've ever quite seen that before.
So that explains why he needs to come in. He must have felt the contact. And let's see, are we going to? I think we're going to get restarted with either 2 or 3 laps to go here. Mogard was our leader when the caution flew. Brent Jones also coming in. How many drivers even still have that spare car at this point? We were down to 29. See, most of our leaders do stay out to retain that track position. Edmondson is in there getting repairs. Attard, we mentioned. Sora in as well. Looks like Tyler O'Neill, after that contact on the backstretch, comes in to get some sheet metal bent back into place.
And at this point, really, with there being so few laps to go when we do get restarted, there's really no gain to be had by pitting, or unless you absolutely have to pit because you've got a significant amount of damage.
So, all right, who are going to be our players up at the top? Because those drivers who have fallen to the back probably aren't going to have time to get up and fight for this. If we've got Mogard and Mahan up there, Marshall Stanley, Jamie Dobbs, when did he get into there? Started 15th, that's the 91. Don't think that he's really been around all that much, but still he's up there within the top 5. Josh Walker as well. And then Alan Wilson, another one who seems to have creeped his way forward, up to 6th now.
Yeah, Jamie Dobbs was one of those ones who was hanging around at the very tail end of the line. He was actually that driver who was kind of between the two groups. He was sitting about a second off the main pack at one point, so it's definitely worked out for him.
I'd say so. Things are getting a little bit feisty now, though. We saw the near caution on the backstretch, and then almost immediately a lap after, coming into turn 3, we have more cars getting turned. So drivers will have to start watching out a little bit more, especially here at the end, or it might be over under pace speed. Patrick Hosier gets the lucky dog, it appears, and he comes back around. He's still going to be a lap down, though, sadly.
I think it's quite likely that this race might end under caution just because of how aggressive people are going to be. I mean, it's natural for it to happen towards the end of a race. We saw at the beginning, okay, we did have those early yellows, but after that, everybody was relatively calm. There wasn't that much aggression out there, and it was visibly different on that last restart. We saw a real consideration for the third lane for the first time in the race.
We're right on board with Adams back in 15th position. Mitchell, who started on the front row, back into things, back on the lead lap. But again, he's a long ways down. He's going to have a good friend with him, really pushing to try and find his way forward with as few laps as we have of racing, potentially, if we get those laps. We're down to 4 to go here, so if we get 1 to go at the line, that means we will be 2 laps to go of racing. So effectively would be a green-white checker.
Not by design, but it does appear to have worked out that way.
Let's see, looks like we lost Emmanuel Lopez. He's our latest retirement, taking it down to 28 cars left. Also see Shaughnessy, who has been taking a long bit of repairs, almost 5 minutes now, so I'm guessing he's done. Matthew Rodriguez came back in for a second time. Not entirely sure why. He's still on the lead lap, possibly just getting some extra bit of repairs done that he felt he needed. It's been about a minute now.
Yeah, I think he's gonna struggle no matter what. 2 laps is really not enough time for him to move forward from the back. But
whoa, we had an accident in the back just now with the number 18 of Tyler O'Neill and Derek Self. And you know what? I do believe that Self was trying to catch back up with the pack and didn't put on his brakes soon enough.
Well, that's interesting that it was between the 81 and the 18, because we obviously saw them get together that didn't bring out the yellow, but...
Yeah, but you'll see here, if we watch the replay, because I do want to clear the 81, this does not look intentional. If it was, this is some incredible predictions on his part. You can see he's trying to slow it, and he hits the wall, and it just happens to bounce into him.
Yeah, that's just unfortunate that it's both those cars again. But it definitely didn't look like there was anything intentional about that. Looked like the 81 was perhaps caught out, should we say, by that everybody was slowing. Yes, something along the lines of maybe he was not entirely focused on the screen at the time.
I hope that the 18 has a spotter there so that he's not as angry as I imagined he might be, thinking that could have been intentional. So that he doesn't hop out of the car. Well, hop out of the virtual car immediately to go to confront him in the chat afterwards. But we are double file now. We will get a 2-lap run to the finish. If they get to that white flag without a caution, it will finish under green. So, okay, boys, you only got to keep it calm for 1 lap. Something easier said than done.
Oh, very much so. But that is an important consideration, that once they do get to the white flag, it really is kind of a no-holds-barred run to the end at that point. And that's when we do tend to see some spectacular wrecks. And obviously, with it being the last lap, everybody's just trying to point their way through it. So it's definitely going to be exciting.
So, who is going to take all of it for the very first of 12 races? Can Mogard take it home? Can Mahan deny him? Marshall Stanley, who suddenly found himself in about the second half of the race, really charging up and being a presence. We get a surprise from Jamie Dobbs, playing possum out there in the number 91, and suddenly showing he was fast the whole time. Or will Josh Walker, the aggressive mover, will he be able to slice his way through, push everyone aside, and find a victory today? They're already to turn 4 here. track is the coolest it's been all day at 91 degrees Fahrenheit at this point. As the pace car now pulls off to the side, control will be given to Jared Mogard. Pace car is in. Mogard's actually holding quite a bit of pace here. It's about 70 miles an hour instead of 65, but he hasn't gone yet. Waiting. Green flag is out. Everybody gets on it. The number 2 almost immediately tries to split the middle.
And he's going to make that work. They're going to have to let him. They're trying to pinch him, but they can't do that. They've got to give him the space.
Well, he got up one position there. The 91 had to give way, but the 12 was not willing to. That's Mahan. He held his ground. When things are looking wobbly for the 5 there of Stanley. Gets it back together. They're down the backstretch without an incident yet. Oh, and now the 58 is coming. The 58 going to make it 3 wide back there.
Yeah, they were leaving a lot of space between the lanes, and the 58 saw that, and now he's making them pay for it.
And it's working. People are giving way this time. Off of turn 4. Are we going to see that white flag for 1 to go? Your leaders up at the front are still Mogard and Mahan. Through the tri-oval. Just a few hundred feet to go now. White flag is out. We're going green to the finish of this 52-lap event. Mogard on the low side. Now I'm starting to see some wild dives there. The 72 ducking down low. The 6 actually making contact side to side with a 91. The 2 once again going to split the middle. It worked last time. He's going to make it work again. 3 wide in there. Almost banging doors with Mahan. The number 5 trying to hold low. He gets tipped. A wreck behind them. Krobach gets sent back. More cars involved, but up at the front, they're okay. Oh, and there for the block. The double lot is not able to get in front of the 2 in time. It looks like he's going to be able to get in front of it as they start to wreck once again. But now the 2 gets turned, and it's the 91 in front. Is it going to be Jamie Dobbs? It is going to be Jamie Dobbs who wins it. Incredible.
The last man standing out of the top part of the field right there. Mogard went for the block, and he went too soon, and everybody then packed up, and from that point on, it was just, it was everybody was pushing it was a 2-car tandem.
Presley Sora finished 2nd place, I think just because everybody in front of him wrecked. Stanley managed to come across in 3rd. Fisher, where was Fisher? Fisher finished 4th. I don't think we even mentioned him. Oh my goodness. Where was he on the previous lap? I'm trying to figure out how far back he was. Fisher was 13th or 12th. And he goes through the grass. Jeremy Fisher. What a move. Great stuff there from the 06. All right. We'll have a lot of time to dissect this. We're going to come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because on screen you're going to see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Talladega Super Speedway. We just watched the Sim Racers for Mental Health the first round of the special series here that they're doing each month. And it was Jamie Dobbs who came away with the victory, starting from 15th and working his way up to the front, and eventually being the last man standing. Presley Sora came up to take second place, skipping over all the drivers who wrecked. Marshall Stanley with a podium in third, and Jeffrey Fisher weaving through the grass to take fourth place. Curtis Kenyon in P5 with Jordan McAvoy in sixth position. Then you got James Miller finishing seventh. Josh Walker wound up in eighth, even though he was looking like he could potentially win this coming down to the line. Steven Sims was ninth, and Michael Krobach recovered after wrecking in turn 3 for 10th.
And we had William Kruska came back from that EOL at the start to finish 11th with Woody Mahan alongside him in 12th. Wesley Fuller, a guy we didn't really talk about much all night, came home in 13th with Tyler O'Neill in 14th. Tyler Dixon, our pole sitter, comes home 15th with Derek Self in 16th. And then we have Brandon Johnson and Brian Ramstack in 17th and 18th, and Brent Jones in 19th with Mitchell Adams in 20th.
And 21st, it wound up being Austin Knight with Jared Mogard, 22nd. I think he actually backed his car across the line, I'm seeing. And then from there on down, you had drivers either a lap down or more, most of them DNFs out of our 38 starters, unfortunately. But for the Make Chester Proud 250, it was Jamie Dobbs winning. And I do believe we have our third place finisher ready to talk to us, Marshall Stanley. Nope, looks like we got second place here. Presley Sora. Now we're going to Marshall Stanley. Okay, so we are talking to our third place finisher. Started from 23rd. Marshall, you managed to salvage a third place, but from your perspective, talk about that last lap, because that was absolutely wild from ours.
Yeah. Well, coming out of 2, I could tell it was going to get kind of hectic from behind. So last thing I thought of was looking from behind and seeing what was going on, just keep my head in front. And going into 3, I was kind of shocked to see 00 go wide on the last lap there. So I was thinking, I mean, I had home stretch to go for the win or at least come in second, and couldn't really tell from the right side what happened to me, but it looks like car came down, and I barely saved it coming off the wall and just downshifted and luckily got third. But that was an incredible finish. That was a nice win by P1.
So obviously we've got new tire model stuff going on here with the Cup car. What are your feelings on the super speedways with this new tire model? Do you like it, or what are you thinking?
I think the way it drives, from at least what you could tell the last few real life races they've done at restrictor plate tracks, you could tell that they're really on the wheel now and they're really having to hold on. Whereas a couple years prior, maybe it was a little bit easier. And you could really tell in this new tire model, I really like it a lot, because you can really feel the car in your hands play around, and you can really get on top of it and save it more so, I feel like, if that comes to be. Because especially on that last lap, there's a few times where you felt like the rear was going to come off the ground and the whole rear end sliding, and you just got to hold on to save it. And I think that's kind of what makes it a lot more fun. And I think it's going to be huge for Peak once they get, or the NASCAR Pro Series once they get to it this season. I think they'll have a fun time with it.
We'll have to ask Christian about that later on when they do. Speaking of which, though, next time you guys are going to be heading over to Daytona. Do you consider that a stronger one for you than here at Talladega? Do you think you can make those 2 steps up to take victory next month?
I think they have obviously a lot of characteristics with how they drive. I think Daytona can be a little bit more narrower as far as making runs. Here you get a little bit more space on the outside in some places. So I think it could be doable to get back in the top 5, but all these races are just like a lottery. You just got to try to get to the front at the end and hope you stay there and hope to come out on top.
Well, again, congratulations on the top 3. Anybody you'd like to thank before you go?
I'd like to thank Stantera SimSport, my team. I'd like to thank FreeM USA, who supplies my gloves. 2 Wild Karting, who I race with on the weekends usually. Wolfpack eSports, who I was within Discord, and they helped me out a ton with draft help, and we all kind of moved our way up to the front towards the end of that last caution. And you guys for broadcasting this. I can't wait to go back and watch it.
Well, thank you very much. There's our answer on what kind of teams we had out there. That was Marshall Stanley, third place finisher. Next up, we have sort of a translation going on. Christian's going to be talking to Lawrence Shaughnessy, who is speaking for our winner, Jamie Dobbs, who unfortunately doesn't have a mic apparently.
Yeah, that was a pretty. Oh, sorry there. Yeah, we got Lawrence Shaughnessy here, and Jamie had a really kind of crazy last lap right there. Obviously, came through to take the win.
Yeah, that was wild. I got caught up in that last caution there, so I was watching from the chase angle, and I can't believe he made that move that he did. Honestly.
Yeah, it definitely looked. It wasn't the driver that we were necessarily expecting to be in that fight. Obviously, at the time of that last restart, we noticed that he was up there, but he'd kind of been hanging around towards the back end of the pack, and I feel like that was out of choice. Was that kind of a strategy deal on his part to sort of try and stay out of wrecks until the end, and then he was going to move his way forwards?
Well, he got caught up in that early one, had a little bit of damage, not too bad. We were all kind of trying to hang out back there a little bit, but he went down and got his damage fixed, and we decided it was go time. And so that's what we did, and he wound up putting himself in a spot to win the race, and Presley coming in second for the team as well. That last lap wreck avoidance was insane. I can't believe he got through that. But yeah. Jamie's a great racer, and he put himself in a spot to win, and that's plate racing, I guess.
Yeah, that was definitely a wild way to win, but definitely a good end to that race. And before we let you go, and we let in turn Jamie go, is there anybody that he'd like to thank?
Well, I'm sure he'd like to thank everybody here at Indy Autosport. We're a smaller team. We're growing, but obviously there's success to be had here. Yeah, other than that, I'm not really sure. I'm just proud of the guys for getting it done today.
All right. Well, thank you for coming and joining us, and thank you for coming and speaking on his behalf. Good luck for the next round at Daytona.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So that was our winner, Jamie Dobbs, talking through Shaughnessy, of course. But we are going to talk to second place finisher, Presley Sora. Now, Presley, I just got to go back and watch turn 3 for you coming through that final lap as we're actually just pulling him in. Getting Presley in here. There, we've got him in now. Presley, congratulations on second. And we've lost him again. Seems to be a little bit shy. See if we can get this sorted out with the number 98. We've got him in. Let's see if he stays in this time. Presley, you there?
Hello.
There we go. All right, Presley, I just was able to go back and watch the final lap myself for you.
Yeah.
I hadn't realized the avoidance you had made in turn 3. Tell us about that.
Well, I can tell you that was the greatest thing I've ever done on iRacing, and I was in shock when I did it.
Please send that into the iRacing top 10 for January, because that is some phenomenal stuff.
That was one of the first things I said. I was like, that's going in for the top 10 of the month.
So we were kind of talking during the break when we saw this race go to the white flag and knowing there wouldn't be a caution. We kind of expected that things would get a little bit crazy out there. I mean, were you kind of bracing yourself for that sort of racing?
Well, I knew that everybody was going to be aggressive, but I was just kind of sending it. Me and Mitchell Adams, one of my teammates, our plan for the final 2 laps was just go wherever any hole is and just send it, basically.
Send it, you did, and that got you second place. Tell us, too, I mean, what's going through your mind as you start to come up to the tri-oval? And, I mean, you imagine, oh, well, top 10 here maybe, and then suddenly you find yourself on the podium.
Yeah, well, taking the white flag, I don't know where I was, but I wasn't anywhere close to the lead, and I was like, well, I think the best I can get is either top 10 or crashed, and somehow I ended up crashed and second, so I have no clue how. I've got no clue how I did it.
Sometimes the racing guys just smile upon you. Still, congratulations on that second place. Here we go. Looks like we've got the replay on your final lap here, so we're going to watch this real quick. But while we watch this, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Well, the whole Indy Auto Sport team, because I didn't even know I was doing this race until like last night at like 10:30. So it's pretty last minute, but I'm really glad I did. And that was a crazy race. That was really cool.
Well, thanks for coming and joining in the race, because you certainly gave us a good time out there. There's the avoidance all the way down to the apron, somehow avoids the wall and keeps it going. That was Presley Sora, our second place finisher here today at Talladega, and he continues to avoid wrecks coming down to the line. So with that, we're going to thank a few people before we go. Of course, we have the big thank you going to the Sim Racers for Mental Health for bringing us on for this 12 race season of special events. And also, we want to thank all of our software and hardware companies that provide that software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Redundancy, Department of Redundancy for you. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Sean, Christian, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. Head on over to our YouTube page. Make sure and hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Our next race, if you do subscribe, you'll catch it. It's going to be at Daytona. That'll be Wednesday, February 21st at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. But we also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.